Hi, I'm Scott. I'm a Quiet Place fan.
Hi, I'm Senthil, and I'm a Bird Box fan.
So the two of us have decided since we disagree, we're going to start watching as many horror movies as we can and come up with a new way of rate them. Come join us.
Go.
Hey, good afternoon, Synthel,
Good
and
afternoon, Scott.
welcome to a new Offline episode.
What movies do we have for tonight, Scott?
I'm actually really excited because I thought they were two pretty good movies. Actually, one was really good. So we have Mortal, which is directed by the same director who did Troll Hunter, which is it's right up there in one of my top 20 films. I love that film. And then we've also got a movie that's called a 1BR for a one bedroom. And this is a smaller budget film. And I would say that this director hasn't done a lot of horror movies. So I'm going to be very interested to hear your take on some of these. So which movie do you want to start with tonight?
Let's start with 1BR because as I started watching it, I realized that I've seen this movie a very long time ago.
Had you?
I did. I totally forgot about it, and so I enjoyed rewatching it. My perspective now is a little bit different than it was when I first saw it. What did you think? What was is 1BR first of all your Quiet Place or Bird Box?
You know what? And I keep using this a lot lately, and it's kind of in the middle, right? I actually like the buildup. I like the suspense. I like the tension in it, but parts of it felt very contrived to me. Parts of it
Yeah.
felt very they they could have taken it a step higher, I think, into the brainwashing side of this. And then I think the ending. Now, what I went to go find out, and I couldn't find it. Senthil, do you remember the movie that at the end they go out into the back lawn and there's the red lanterns hanging in everybody's backyards? Did you ever see that movie?
No, I don't remember.
It's like a dinner party and they all go in and it's like a cult following and they kill the
Okay.
dinner guest and these two escape, go out to the backyard, and hanging in the backyard along this hillside are all of these. You had to go hang your red lantern, right?
I
You're part
see.
of this cult. And there's tons of them. Well, this movie kind of has that kind of ending as well. And I kind of like those endings, right? Where it's like it's much more broader than you think it is, right? It's just not here. And so for me, I like the emotional, roller coaster that you were on. But how did you respond?
I had a pretty strong reaction to this because uh, these kind of movies get under my skin, and not in a bad way. The evil people and the evil that people do in this is, to me, much more insidious and more difficult to watch than a supernatural. Because you can look at a supernatural movie and know that it's all fake. It's not likely to be realistic.
Yeah.
But this is just another cult, and so it aggravated me because of the level of disturbing actions that I saw in that. And I like the direction of the movie. I thought it was a little bit different. I also used the word contrived, but to me, the ending, while I appreciated the mindset, I thought it was a bit bolted on contrived.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, Cynthia, so let me ask you this. What I just heard you say is that cult movies are more frightening than the paranormal.
Yeah, because it makes me angry. When I saw what the main character was going through, it made me really angry, and so I had a very strong emotional reaction to it.
So to me, where I agree with you absolutely in this is that I actually think stuff like that happens, right? There are
Yeah,
cults, right, that are
there are.
brainwashing. There are, all of these things that are as a brainwash. I mean, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
So it's frightening in the sense that that could happen to anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's disturbing that there are people that are that manipulative and evil out there, and we know there are. We've
Yeah.
heard of many of those kind of cults. So this is not unrealistic. And that's what I think made it even more horrifying and made me angry, and made me relate to and feel the helplessness of the character that was in the middle of all that.
So are you going a bird box or are you saying it's a quiet place?
It's more of a Bird Box to me. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. I thought It made sense. I thought they did a good job with the music that added to it. I thought
Yeah.
the characters were developed enough to contribute to the story, and so overall, I enjoyed it. Aside from the occasional contrived bolted on pieces, I really enjoyed it. The payoff is there as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely closer to Bird Box, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of middle of the road on it, but you know what? Talking about it, I kind of moved more towards A Quiet Place, right? Because it was a well done cult movie. The characters were believable. I could see this happening, in a apartment complex in the middle of LA. What I thought it was a really great what they did well was talking about the distancing and how we become distanced from people,
Yeah.
right? And how it would be very easy, you find like a community or family where you feel like you're fitting in, and then you are forced to fit in, right? So you're brought in there,
Yep.
and you start to think about those connections, right, Synthol, with people on the outside, and you realize they're not that strong a lot of the times. So
That's a good observation. It's something I didn't pick up when I first saw the movie. It is a statement about the lack of connections, strong connections we have with the world around us, how tenuous there are, and how easy it is for somebody to drop off the face of the map. And
not only that, Synthol, what they went in and manipulated their social media pages, and
yeah,
frankly, between you and me, that's all you have to do nowadays. If
yeah,
I can say on Twitter, I'm going to take a break for a while. Nobody knows why I'm taking a break,
yeah.
and nobody calls to check.
Right. What's interesting about this, though, I don't think this would have made it been highly successful if it had been a box office release, even a
I agree.
Blumhouse release. So why do you think that is?
So I think it's especially when you're looking at horror, right? There's certain things like The Lodge did not do well in its theater release, right? But it did
Yeah.
well when it came out and you could rent it, or it came out on Amazon, right? So it did well. I think movies like this that are not built around gore horror, right? It's harder for people to go to a theater and sit there because it's this slow buildup of suspense.
Yeah.
And my personal feeling is with horror, if there's not a payoff right at the beginning, people just become disconnected from it and they go, right? And this one doesn't have that real big, the payoff is not huge. It is huge, but it's not huge in the way that horror movies are, right? It's not Cabin in the Woods with the giant hand coming down and smashing everybody. And
Yeah.
I think that's the problem, Simple, with
I
it.
still enjoyed it, and I'd still
Yeah,
recommend it for somebody to watch.
I would recommend it too. Now, Cynthia, we're going to move to the next one because
Yeah.
I am super happy you actually suggested this one. What's the movie?
Mortal.
So this director, I didn't even know this movie was out because I love Troll Hunter. I love The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Have you seen
Yeah.
that?
I have. I have.
Phenomenal director. Even Scary Stories to Tell at Night. This director, he is phenomenal. Now, where this is going to get interesting is, to me, Mortal is not a horror movie. It's still an awesome freaking movie.
Yeah.
But it's not horror. To me, it was very Marvel. It was, Spider-Man. It was, Venom. And I loved it. I loved it.
I did too. But let me ask you this. I actually thought it was anti-Marvel in the sense that I wouldn't compare it to Logan, but it's an anti-Marvel in the way that Logan was an anti-Marvel movie. It's an anti-X-Men movie. Took a whole different perspective on it. And I didn't intentionally pick this. I was just looking for a horror movie. I couldn't really tell. And by accident, I saw that it was a director for Troll Hunters. So I saw it. And the movie that I thought that reminded me of is, remember when we saw The New Mutants?
Yes.
And to me, I thought I love this movie for many reasons. One of them is that I saw this as a horror version of the main character, which it shouldn't be a surprise, but I won't reveal any of the plot elements. So to me, this was a well executed New Mutants movie.
Yeah, so I'm going to agree with you because The New Mutants was horrible. So this was well executed, and I am like you. It is a very Logan-esque. but it's like behind Logan, right? So it's the whole story of Xavier losing it, right? So
Yeah.
in Logan, he keeps having these things and it causes he basically wiped out most of the mutants by accident. This movie kind of falls along that same line, Synthel. And I loved the buildup. Now I'm going to say one of the things that I thought it deterred me a little bit, and even my wife Tracy was watching it with me, was the bridge scene. I had no idea what that was all about. I mean, I get it, don't let him cross, don't go across, but okay. That was a scene that felt like such a filler scene that didn't need to be there. And maybe it was about trying to introduce who this character was.
That's how I looked at it.
Yeah, but I already knew that from earlier on, right? There's plenty of hints that this director gives you throughout this movie that's going, this is who this person is, the reincarnation of this person, that it felt like the director went, well, I got to fill an extra 10 minutes here to get this to a certain level. It just felt plopped.
You know how I looked at it, not just in establishing the character further, but my perspective on that scene was that was the very first time that who he is apparent to the rest of the world. The sheriff, the authority figure knows, the counselor knows. There have been some random people who have, by misfortune, run across him. But this is the very first time he shows up on social media. There are kids watching, the public is watching. This is when the cult, as it's referenced, which I thought was just fantastic, loved it.
Yes.
Loved it. Really begins. And this is what attracts the following that this main character has. That was how I looked at it.
Simple. Now that you say it that way, you're right. That's exactly what it did. And which leads you to this ending that I did not expect at all.
No.
It's a lot like the ending of Troll Hunter, right? You don't expect the ending of Troll Hunter or the ending of The Autopsy of Jane Doe. This director is phenomenal at creating this cinematography, this whole idea. I'm going to take you on a journey, and then quickly at the end shifts, right? A lot like Chronicle, that you probably think, right? That ending that you're just not expecting. You go, what just happened? And I actually was upset because I went, well, that's it. That's the ending. That's it. But it's a total payoff, like PG Gorman, right?
Yeah. It absolutely is. And there's a word you mentioned when we talked about the previous movie that some of my friends who saw this movie use and as reasons why they didn't like it. Slow. It's a slow building. The pot is boiling very slowly, and there is a payoff. And what did you think by that? Was that a deterrent for you that this was not a Marvel action movie?
No, you know what, Simple? I actually like slow buildups. That's why I'm a big fan of movies like Hereditary or Midsommar or The Lodge. Those movies to me that have this slow burn, that are giving you little hints along the way about what's about to happen, but they just don't feed you the entire pizza at one time. I love that feeling of trying to guess what's coming and being wrong. And don't get me wrong, I love a good gore flick. I love a good horror flick that starts right off the bat, that it's like, boom, supernatural, somebody's possessed. Those are fun, but they're nowhere near as fun as that slow burn to an ending that you dread that's coming. You know it's coming. You know it's not going to be good. You know people are going to get hurt, and you can't help but wait for that moment. It's the tease waiting for that moment.
Yeah, in fact, I liked every aspect of this movie. I actually went and bought the soundtrack for the movie. I thought the music.
Did you really?
Yeah, the music was so fantastic. I'm a big believer that the really great movies are differentiated from the good movies based on the sound and the sound score. I always refer to the famous scene of Luke Skywalker looking off in the distance and the music that comes in the background.
Yeah,
you can just hear the music and visualize that scene. It's such a compelling piece. And so this movie, the soundtrack really contributed. And I would also ask you, did you see any of that ending coming?
None.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't. I just didn't. I mean, I will tell you the minute they get to the farm, and that's not giving anything away, but when they get to the farm, I really don't see, I didn't see any of that happening to that point.
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't.
different. You know,
Yeah.
I'm also curious about if this had been in a non-COVID year, and I believe it was put out by Lionsgate, if I remember.
Yeah.
Distributed by, and I wonder if this would have done well. The few people that I talked to that didn't like it were looking for Marvel action pacing.
Yeah.
They didn't like slowness, but most of the people that I've talked to that saw it loved it. Loved the character buildup, loved the development, loved the story.
I don't think it would have made it into the theater. I just
Yeah.
don't. Troll Hunter didn't.
Yeah, that's certainly true.
Yeah. And Autopsy of Jane Doe didn't.
Then maybe there are certain movies that work fantastic on streaming, and they're
Yeah.
excellent movies.
Yeah, I agree. So everybody, again, Cynthia and I would love to thank you once more for coming out and watching us. You can also go grab our blog at www.offlon.org, where we take what we're talking about and put it into text, so that if you're not a big video person, you like to read, go right ahead, jump in there. Cynthia, once again, thank you so much for your time. Hey, before we jet though, when you're talking soundtracks, I think we should do an episode on what some of the best horror soundtracks are out there. Because today on Twitter, there was a whole debate about John Carpenter is a better music writer than director. I would love to have that conversation sometime.
Let's do it. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a huge proponent of good versus great is the sound score.
Yeah, I'm in with you. All right, Cynthia, till next week. We'll see you
Looking
later.
forward to it. See you next time.